Okay, so this is lesson 8-5. So for your notes, put 8-5, solving equations with variables on each side or both sides now. So now we're going to have more than one variable, which we've already had, but now it's on both sides of the equal sign. So this first example that's done for us says 3x equals x plus 8. So we have two x's, but now they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So we can't just combine them, even though they are like terms. What we have to do to get them together is we have to move one of them across the equal sign. Just like when we're getting rid of stuff, we always do the opposite to it. So we have to do the opposite to whatever's happening to it to move it across. Now, there's always a little bit of confusion on which one you move. So, for example, if I got rid of this 3x, like if I moved it to the other side of the equal sign, I would cancel everything out from this side of the equal sign. You don't want to do that. You always want there to be something, or else you can't solve it. So on this problem, we only have one option, and it's to move the x. That option is to move this x, okay? Because if I get rid of this one, I still have something over here. So on this problem, that is a positive x, so I'm going to subtract x from both sides of the equal sign. We're not dividing on these because we're trying to move the x, not separate them. So 3x minus 1x is how they get 2x down here. They subtract it right here. X minus x cancels, and then we're left with positive 8 on this side of the equal sign. So we now have 2x equals 8, and we know how to solve this now. The reason I don't subtract 2x here is because I want the x to stay there and just get rid of the 2. So if I look between them, they're being multiplied. So we have to divide by 2 on both sides. 2 divided by 2 is 1x. Equal sign comes down. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So x equals 4 on that. Okay, so I want y'all to just do 1a. I'm not going to make you do b. Just try 1a, and then I'll go over it with you. On 1a, we have 7x equals 5x plus 4. So we have two x's. We can't solve until we have 1. So we have to get our like terms together, but they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So to get them together this time, you have to do the opposite of whatever's happening. So if I move this 7x, I get rid of everything over there. We don't want to do that. So on this one, I have to move the 5x. Now, I'm not dividing here. If I do that, that keeps the x there and only moves the 5. I want to move the whole thing, so I look out front. It's just a positive number, so I'm going to subtract 5 and x to the other side of the equal sign. Since these both have an x, I can combine them. So I have 7x minus 5x, which is 2x. Have an equal sign, 5x minus 5x is 0, and I still have positive 4. This is now my equation. We also just have 1x now. 2x equals 4. So now I'm not subtracting because I want the x to stay there and just get rid of the 2. They're being multiplied, so this is where we divide. 2 divided by 2 is 1x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, on this problem, we have 6 over 5y plus 8 equals 4/5 y minus 10. So we have two y's, and they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So on this one, we can move either one of these, because if I get rid of this one, I still have an 8. Or if I get rid of this one, I still have a 10. So on this problem, we can choose to move either one of these, and it'll get us the correct answer. They chose to get rid of the 4/5. Doesn't matter which one. So now we don't divide or multiply because we want to move the 4/5 and the y. So we look out front of the whole thing. It's positive, so we're going to subtract it from both sides of the equal sign. Okay, when we do that, it cancels from this side, and I'm just left with negative 10. My equal sign comes down. When I subtract it on this side, we do have to remember that fractions have to have the same denominator. They already do on this one, so we can just subtract the top. 6 minus 4 is 2, and you keep the denominator the same. So 6/5 y minus 4/5 y is 2 over 5y. We still have that plus 8, and now it equals negative 10. So this is now our problem. We can now solve for y. So we get rid of the 8 first because it's being added. We subtract that from both sides. That cancels here. I'm just left with 2/5 y equals. Then I have negative 10 minus 8 more. That's negative 18. Now from here, 2/5 y equals negative 18. Now we are trying to separate these, and we want the y to stay there and just get rid of 2/5. They're being multiplied, so we would divide, but we can't divide a fraction by a fraction, so we flip it and multiply both sides of the equal sign. That cancels here, and I'm left with y equals, when you multiply 5 halves times negative 18, you could put that over 1, and you could cross cancel if you need to. Divide those both by 2. You have 5 times negative 9, which is negative 45, over 1 times 1, which is just negative 45. Okay, so let me scroll down. I want you to try 2a and 2b so we can get good practice with these, okay? They are decimals and fractions, so try your best. If you don't quite understand this one, you can just go on, just put I don't know, and I'll let you move on past this one. All right, on 2a and 2b, again, we're solving for x, but we can't until we get our x's together. I have an x on either side of the equal sign. So think of it like this. I have an x here, but I also have something else, so that means I could move that x. On this side, here's an x, but here's also another number, so I could also move this x. So in this problem, it doesn't matter which one you move. The only time you have to worry about it is if I were to move this x and there was nothing else left over here, we don't want to cancel everything out from one side of the equal sign. So since this one has it on both sides and other stuff, I can move either one. So I'm going to move 2.1x, but you could have moved 3.1. Since it's just a positive number, I'm going to subtract it to the other side. That cancels. I have 3 equals 1.1x minus 2. I just did 3.1 minus 2.1. Oh, and it's just 1, sorry. My bad. 1x, which is just x. So 3 equals x minus 2. So now to solve for x, I get rid of this 2. It's being subtracted, so we add it. And we get that x equals 5. Now, it technically says 5 equals x. You can leave it like that. It means the same thing. I know that that means x equals 5. Okay, on 2b, we have 2 p's and 2 other numbers, so it doesn't matter which one I move. But now we have fractions. I'm going to subtract 1/2 p from both sides. And what's tricky about this one, I still have negative 15 equals, this is 3/4 minus 1/2. If you remember, we can't add or subtract fractions unless they have the same denominator. So I have 4 and 2, so I'm going to have to make them the same. So I'll switch colors real quick. So I'm going to change this 2 to a 4, 2 times 2, so I've got, this is now going to be 2 over 4. So now I can subtract it. 3 minus 2 is 1/4. P minus 3. Okay, now I get rid of the 3 because we're solving for P. I've got to get rid of 1/4 and 3. You get rid of the one that's by itself first, just like we did the other day in class last week. So add 3 to both sides. Negative 15 plus 3 is negative 12. 1/4 P, and that is now 0. Now, this is 1/4 times P. I want the P to stay there and just get rid of the 1/4. They're being multiplied, so we would divide, but it's a fraction. So we flip and multiply on both sides of the equal sign. 4 over 1 is really just 4. So that cancels on that side. So I have 4 times negative 12. Negative 48 is P. On example 3, we have a word problem now. It says a personal trainer charges a one-time fee of $60 plus $25 for each individual session. A fitness club, so that was the personal trainer, a fitness club charges a yearly fee of $450, so the one-time yearly fee, plus $10 for each session with the personal trainer. Write and solve an equation to determine for what number of sessions the cost will be equal. So we have 2 answers. We got to write an equation and then solve it. So I'm going to go back and let's look at for just the personal trainer. So he charges a one-time fee of $60. So if it's a one-time fee, you pay it one time. You don't pay it over and over again. Plus, so we're going to be adding $25 for each individual session. Well, we don't know how many sessions. That's what we're trying to figure out. But it's $25 for each one. So if it's 5 sessions, that'd be 25 times 5. So we have 25S. So this is for the personal trainer. Then it says a fitness club charges a yearly fee of $450. So that's our one-time fee. Plus $10 for each session with a personal trainer. So 10S. 10 times each session. So then it says, write and solve an equation to determine for what number of sessions the costs will be equal. So they want to know how many sessions would it take for this with the personal trainer to equal this with the fitness club. So we set them equal. That's how they get this right here. 60 plus 25S equals 450 plus 10S. So now we solve this like we did just on previous problems. We've got to get our S's together. Doesn't matter which one you move, so they moved the smaller one on this. Since it was plus 10S, we subtract 10S from both sides of the equal sign. When we do that, that cancels here, and I'm just left with 450 equals 25S minus 10S is 15S, and then we still have that 60 plus out front. So this is now our equation. 60 plus 15S equals 450. Now we are solving for S. So we have to get rid of 60 and 15. We get rid of the one that's by itself first, 60. Since it's positive, we subtract it from both sides of the equal sign, and it cancels here. I'm left with 15S equals 450 minus 60 is 390. This is our next step of equation. 15S equals 390. So now I want to get rid of the 15, but keep the S there. They're being multiplied, so we would divide 15 from both sides of the equal sign. It cancels there, and I'm left with S equals 390 divided by 15 is 26. So it would take 26 sessions for the cost to be equal on both of those. Okay, on this next one, number 3, I want you to try it. You can pause the video, and then I'll go over it with you. Okay, this last problem says Redbird Cruises charges $85 per day plus a one-time fee of $75. King Cruises charges $100 per day plus a fee of $30. Write and solve an equation to determine for what number of days the charge for the cruises will be the same. So we'll have two answers. We're setting up an equation and we're solving it. So I'm going to go back and break them down. So for Redbird Cruises, it's 2 cruise lines, like going on a ship. So for Redbird Cruises, they charge $85 per day and a one-time fee of $75. Okay, so remember, a one-time fee means you pay it up front and that's it. But then $85 per day means for every single day you're there, you would pay $85. So to set that up, you could say, I'll say X, 85X plus 75, or you could have put the 75 first, 75 plus 85X. So that is for Redbird Cruises. For King Cruises, another cruise line, it is $100 per day, but then just a one-time fee of $30. So that one would be 100X plus 30, or 30 plus 100X. So then the question says, write and solve an equation to determine for what number of days, so for X, that the 2 cruises would be the same total price. So what you do, for these to be the same, they would have to be equal. I set them equal. Now we solve. So that would be your first answer. Okay, we've set it up. Now we can solve for X. I have 2 X's, so I have to get them together. I'll just move 85. So I subtract it to the other side because it's positive. I have 75 equals 100 minus 85 is 15X, and then I still have plus 30. So to solve for X, I've got to get rid of 15 and 30. We get rid of the 30 first. So I'm going to subtract it because it was being added. That's 45 equals 15X. Now, I have 15 and X. I'm trying to get rid of the 15. It's being multiplied, so we would divide both sides by 15. Sorry, it's hard to write down low. I'm going to come over here. So we get, what is that? 45 divided by 3. 15 is 3. So that means after 3 days, they'd be the same price.